Hello everyone, welcome again in the another video. So today we are specially going to talking about a lens, its anatomy, physiology, biochemistry and its related pathology. Okay, so before we started, we should know the basic about the eye. So let's revise. Okay, so we know that eye is made up of a three layer. Okay, outer layer, middle layer and the innermost layer. We know that outer layer is made up of three structure. This is the cornea, this all cornea, this all posterior most part, it is nothing but it is our sclera, and the junction between the sclera and the cornea, it is limbus. So this is our outer layer. Now can you see this part? This is our iris. Can you see this yellow, this part and this red part? This all is our middle layer, right? We know that middle layer is again divided into two various parts. Like, can you see this part? This is our iris. These two colors is our ciliary body. Ciliary body again divided into two parts. Like, can you see this yellow? This is pars plicata and this color is pars plana. And can you see this red color? It is nothing but it is choroid. Okay. Now can you see this innermost layer? Innermost layer is nothing but this is our retina. So these are the basic anatomy of the eye we should always remember. Today we are specially going to talk about this lens and its pathology, right? So before we start, we should know the what is the anatomy, what is the physiology and what is the biochemistry of the lens. But we will learn in a clinical scenario type, right? So you are sitting in a OPD, right? One patient is come to you and patient say that, sir or ma'am, I cannot see properly, right? You examine the patient's eye and you see that, right? You see patient's eye, you know all the structure that most whitish part is sclera. This part is nothing but this is our iris, and the junction between sclera and the iris, it is our limbus, and in the center you will see a black area, right? This is nothing but pupil. Now you examine the patient's eye and you see that in the pupil area, in the pupillary area, there is something whitish deposition, or you can say there is something white is seen. Normally it should be look black, right? But in your patient it is look something white. So one thing you should always remember, if there is any pathology which cause the white in the lens, it is nothing but it is cataract, right? So our main topic is cataract, but before we learn about the cataract, we will learn anatomy, physiology and biochemistry of the lens. So let's start it. So this is our lens, right? You can see that lens has a biconvex shape, right? So now I am going to tell some facts, and these facts are very important for the NEET PG and all the competitive exam, right? So if someone asks you what is the shape of the lens, you can see that it is the biconvex shape, right? Now you can see here that what is the color of the lens. You should remember that lens is a transparent, right? It should be transparent. That's why the rays of the light can be easily refracted from the here, right? So lens should be transparent. Now what is the blood supply of the lens? Now just imagine if there is a blood supply. Because of that, what happened? The lens will become a red, right? So the light rays cannot easily pass. Because of that, it should be transparent and it should not have any kind of the blood supply, right? So you have to remember that lens has no blood supply, as well as lens has no nerve supply. So these are the basics, right? Let's revise again. It has a biconvex shape, it is a transparent, it has no blood supply, it is avascular, and it has no nerve supply, right? Now can you see that the lens is suspended in a center by the means of these thread-like structures, which are nothing but these are the zonules, right? These are the zonules, and zonules are attached to the ciliary processes, and the ciliary processes are the part of the ciliary body, which are very important in the accommodation of the lens. Now I have taken the lens individually, right? So this is our lens, right? So in lens, what you should remember, that lens has a two surface. This is a anterior surface, this is a posterior surface, right? And where anterior surface and posterior surface meet, this is the meeting point of the anterior surface and the posterior surface. This is known as the equator, right? Now there are some numbers you have to remember which are very important for your PG preparation, right? So the diameter of the equator is nothing but it is the meeting point of anterior surface and the posterior surface. The diameter is about 10 mm, right? Now you should remember that radius of the curvature, the radius of the anterior surface curvature is about 10 mm, while the radius of the curvature of the posterior surface is about 6 mm. Okay, now you can observe one thing, that the anterior surface is less convex and it is more flatter, right? While the posterior surface is more convex, right? While anterior surface is flatter, it is less convex. Okay, now we need to know about what is the refractive index of the lens, right? Which we have to remember that lens has two refractive index, one two different refractive index, right? In the center there is a different refractive index, and in the cortical area, in the peripheral, there is different refractive index. In the central part, the refractive index is 1.406, while in the peripheral part, the refractive index of the lens is 1.386. So whenever someone asks you that where the refractive index of the lens is more, you have to tell them that it is the center part which has a more lens refractory index. Now if someone asks you that what is the refractive power of the lens, you should tell him that the refractive power of the lens is about plus 16 to plus 90 diopter. And one thing you should always remember, it is very important for the all the exams, right? It is from where the lens is developed. So you have to remember that lens is developed from the surface ectoderm. For now, just remember the name, it is developed from the surface ectoderm. If someone asks you that where the lens is situated, means what is the location of the lens, you should tell him that lens is situated at the patellar fossa. So this all the 3D area where the lens is situated, it is known as the patellar fossa. Okay, so now I am going to talk about the lens and its associated structure, right? So this is our anterior surface, this is our posterior surface, right? And as we know that this is all aqueous and this is all vitreous, right? Now this is the anterior face, this is anterior face of the vitreous, this is anterior face of the vitreous, right? Now can you see here there is one ligament like structure, right? So what is this? It is known as the Weygut's ligament. Now what is Weygut's ligament? It is the attachment between the posterior surface of the lens and anterior face of the vitreous, right? Now can you see this one space which is just behind the lens, or we can say retrolental space, right? So it is nothing but it is the space between the lens and the vitreous, which is known as a Burger space or retrolental space. So you have to remember two things, right? Weygut's ligament, which is nothing but attachment between a posterior surface of the lens and anterior face of the vitreous, and one space which is just behind the lens means retrolental or burger space. And there is another adjustment found right here, which is nothing but it is known as vitreous base, right? Now, can you see this one structure? This structure, this is nothing but it is known as the Cloquet's canal. Okay, so what is this Cloquet's canal? It is the potential space for the hyaloid artery, and this hyaloid arteries supply blood supply the lens during embryogenesis, right? I will explain again, right? Every organ in our body needs blood supply during its genesis as lens, right? So lens also need a blood supply. So during embryogenesis, blood supply to the lens is given by the hyaloid artery, and hyaloid artery pass through this canal. But at the age of the 8 month of gestation, this hyaloid artery disappear, right? And only the potential space is present here, and this potential space is nothing but it is our Cloquet's canal, right? Now, sometimes what happen that the remnant of the hyaloid artery are present even after the 8 month, right? So just imagine that remnant of the hyaloid artery can be present at two space. They can be present right here, right? They can be present right here. This is the place, it is the optic disc, and this is just behind the lens. If the remnant of the hyaloid artery present behind the lens, it is known as Mittendorf dots, right? But if the remnant of the hyaloid artery present at the optic disc, they are known as Burgmeister's papillae, right? They are known as Burgmeister's papillae. So this much information you need to know as far as the NEET PG or INI-CET or next is concerned. Now I have shown here only the lens part, right? Now I will talk about the layers of the lens, right? So first of all, layers of the lens, can you see this black part? It is nothing but this is the capsule, right? And capsule is the outermost part. Then can you see this is the epithelial cells? These all are epithelial cells only present on the anterior side. On the posterior side there is no epithelium. Can you see this white? This is our cortex, and these all are our nucleus, right? So if someone asks you what are the layers of the lens, you should tell him that it is capsule, epithelial cells, cortex, and the nucleus. Now you have to remember that this capsule is the anterior capsule and the posterior capsule, right? Now capsule is the thickest basement membrane in our whole body. We know that in our body there is so much basement membrane, but which basement membrane is thickest? It is the capsule basement membrane. It is thickest in our body because, and it has a type 4 collagen, right? It has a type 4 collagen. Now you can say that this is the anterior pole, this is anterior pole, this is the posterior pole. Now in image you can say that the capsule is thinnest at posterior part, right? The capsule is thinnest at posterior part. And where it is thickest, can you see this part? This is the part where the capsule is very thick. But what is the name of this part, right? We know that this is the equator, right? So this is pre-equatorial zone, this is also pre-equatorial zone, this is also pre-equatorial zone, but this is anterior and this is posterior. So we can say that capsule is thickest at posterior pre-equatorial zone, right? Now we will talk about the anterior epithelium, right? Anterior epithelium. So in anterior epithelium we have two types of the cell. Can you see these cells? These cells are epithelium, but the name is A cells, and these cells are associated with or concerned with a metabolism, which is a biochemistry part, right? And can you see this long or columnar cells? These are nothing but these are E cells, right? And one thing you should always remember that these columnar cells can divide, right? We know that in the lens is made up of fibers. Now you imagine from where these all fibers are come. These all fibers are come from the mitosis from this E cell, right? Now this is a cortex and these are the nucleus. Now if we talk about the cortex, cortex contains the nuclear or cortex contains a lens fiber, and you have to remember that the young lens fibers are present in outer cortex, right? Now the last and most important part, which is a nucleus, right? So in nucleus we have a four zones of the nucleus. Can you see this innermost part? It is the embryonic. This part is fetal nucleus, this part is infantile nucleus, and this part is adult nucleus, right? So these are appears at the different age, right? So these are the nucleus: embryonic, fetal, infantile, and adult. So if I ask you question that oldest lens fiber present where, right? So your answer should be the oldest lens fibers are present in the lens in the embryonic part, and the newest, or I can say young lens fibers are found in the cortex, because they are just mitosis here and they are just come here. So here the lens fibers are youngest, while in the embryonic period there will be a lens fibers which are present right here, which are oldest, right? Now I have tell you that the epithelial cells which is of A type are associated with the metabolism, right? So for the metabolism, every cells in the body needs glucose, right? Now we know that lens has no blood supply. So from where glucose is come? Glucose is come. Can you see this aqueous? And can you see this vitreous? So glucose is present right here, glucose is present right here. So glucose is directly diffused in this lens, and after the diffusion of the glucose from the aqueous and from the vitreous into lens, metabolism is occur. So now I am going to take section of this part, and I am going to take one epithelium cells, and I will show you how the metabolism of the glucose actually occurs in the lens, right? So this is our anterior capsule, this is our epithelial cells. Now I have tell you that glucose, this is the humor, right? The glucose is diffused from aqueous humor to the cells for the metabolism, right? We know that there is no blood supply, so there is no oxygen. So the glycolysis for the metabolism of the glucose will be anaerobic glycolysis, which is greater than 80 percentage, right? There is 50 percentage Krebs cycle or HMP shunt pathway occur for the metabolism of the glucose. Now just think that your blood glucose level is very high, like in the case of the diabetes or galactosemia, right? Because of that, what happened, this anaerobic glycolysis cannot only it is only for the 80 percentage. It is not only alone able to metabolize all the glucose. So there is a preservative pathway, which is a sorbital pathway, right? So what you have to remember, that whenever the glucose is high, like in the diabetes and galactosemia, sorbitol pathway is occur, right? In sorbitol pathway, what happens, glucose is converted into sorbitol, right, with the enzyme name aldose reductase. Now what happened, glucose will convert into sorbitol. This sorbitol will accumulate in the A cells, epithelium cells. This sorbitol has a osmotic effect, right? So because of the accumulation of the lot of the sorbitol, the osmotic pressure in the epithelial cells will be increased. Now we know that osmotic pressure means it will attract the water. So the water from the outside, we know that aqueous humor contains lot of water. So here osmotic pressure is increased. This increased osmotic pressure in the A cells of the epithelia will attract or extract the water from aqueous humor into the lens, right? Because of that, increase in osmotic pressure, there is a fluid in this whole lens, and because of that what happened, if the fluid comes in the lens will become opaque, there is opacity seen, right? So that is what most commonly seen in diabetes mellitus patient, that the patient develops a sugar cataract. Now can you see, this is the aqueous and this is the lens, right? So the amount of water in the aqueous is 99 percentage, and in lens it is the 66 percentage, and water can directly diffuse into a both side, right? Sodium is 144 and in lens it is 20, potassium is 4.5 and in the lens it is 125, and they are transfer or exchange by active transport, right? Sodium, potassium, ATPase pump. Chlorine can 110 and 18, so it can directly diffuse. Glucose here 6, here only 1, so I have tell you that glucose is directly diffuse. Lactic acid here 7.4, here 14, so lactic acid is more in the lens, so it is diffused from lens to the aqueous, right? Now what you have to remember, that glutathione is synthesized only in the lens. I will tell you what is the importance of the glutathione. Proteins are in the aqueous, the proteins are 0.04 percentage, while in the lens it is 33 percentage. Why? Because proteins are synthesized inside the lens. Amino acids are 5, here 25, right? So we have to active transport, inositol 0.1, active transport in the lens 5 to 9. So this is what all about the anatomy, physiology and biochemistry of the lens. In next lecture we will learn about the cataract. To understand the cataract you should remember all these things. Thank you.